She's the midnight mistress of fairies and dark mischief. He's the paranormal beacon of mystic fairs and government leaking. If the dark side had a prom, they would be the king and queen. They live the metaphysical and make a wicked awesome team. From every single culture in every corner of the globe, they creep the lore and legends just to keep you in the know. For some it's hyperbole, fantastical and myth. For them it's all too real and your paradigm will shift. It's forever Halloween with all treats and no tricks. He's got a thing for witches and she's all Stevie Nicks. So welcome to our carnival of the weird and the bizarre, where UFOs and curses take shape beneath the stars. Sit back, relax, open your mind and stay a few. It's time for John and Stacey, and do we have something for you? Welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow with your host, John and Stacey Edwards of ParanormalSideshow.com. Hello and welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And we've had an interesting week.
We have.
It's almost felt like 2 weeks.
It seemed like quite some time.
It does, don't it? Surprisingly enough, we have 2 episodes out pretty much at the same time there. Because some weirdness happened.
Due to circumstances beyond our control.
Beyond our control, thanks government. Appreciate it. Once again, shutting us down because the man always has to put his fist on us. Just some weird stuff happened. We lost part of an episode, and that's happened before. You know, I blame it on going organic. I think when I took the fluoride out of my diet, the government turned it up a notch.
They're going to get you in other ways.
They're just like, my God, he actually bought organic toothpaste. He's really serious. He's going to try to live.
We have to stop that right now.
Sir, it's a code red. It's a code red. He's quit tobacco and everything. So no, some weird stuff happened, and the Chinese rocket didn't hit us. We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
I just thought people should know that the Chinese rocket didn't hit us.
Yes.
It was very slow and painful, but it did not. And out of all stories to knock out last week,
yes,
it knocked that one out. It was almost like the story gods knew that was a non-story.
Well, it's weird because it actually cut us off like right at the end of the Stephen Hawking weird conspiracy story. And we were talking about that paper they wrote about parallel dimensions.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was editing, and the recording, it didn't like have just a dead space or a big empty space. Like it literally cut you off mid-word.
Yeah.
And then immediately cut you back into after we had talked about the Chinese space station. Right in the middle of a word. I was so confused because, I mean, I know we get off topic.
Yeah.
But that was a little too much. Yeah, I know. I can't help it. But that was a little too much. And I couldn't figure out how those two things got next to each other. I listened to it a few times. And I was like, it just didn't record that. It's so weird.
Yeah. It was one of those nights that sometimes you can hear Stacey in the far corners of the house just screaming like a mad woman in the middle of the night when she's editing. We don't get near her during these times because we know at these times it means that she's either lost something, erased something, or something just didn't simply record.
Well, you know, when we recorded the last show, we had all that trouble. We had the guy with the leaf blower, and we had the smoke alarm go off, and I mean, it was just a ton of things. It was a crazy
time.
It was.
But speaking of crazy times. So our listeners, avid listeners, and even those not so avid, would have noticed about a month ago, we had a candle explode during a recording.
We did.
So
John likes to burn bay leaves.
That was blamed on the bay leaves. That the fire was on the side of the glass. But we had something happen last night that can't be blamed on John.
No, this is true. It didn't have anything to do with bay leaves.
This one was weird. We had a special candle, we'll say, that was burning in a special vase.
Well, it was a glass candle holder.
A glass candle holder, very thick glass.
Yeah, it was like a taper candle, and it was just down in one of those candle holders that's made for taper candles.
And then what happened?
Well, before the candle was even burnt out all the way, the candle holder split in half.
Right.
Completely just broke straight in half.
And let me just say, this is one of those candles that we wanted to burn all the way out. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But it just,
yeah,
all the way out. I mean, all the way, boom.
Yeah, split right down the middle.
Right in the middle.
Very crazy.
It was insane.
We couldn't figure it out.
We just thought we'd share that. It's been a really weird time in a good way. Mm-hmm. Speaking of weird, I had my family come up this past week, and my dad, my pop, and my son both came up, and I don't know how they didn't kill each other
on the way.
But Cody and his granddad came up, and I honestly, I could see the pain on their faces when they got here, but they seemed to have a pretty good time.
Yeah, I think they did good. I mean, they drove it in one shot. That was pretty.
That's a long drive. It's a long drive. So, needless to say, we did what any spooky, couple would do, and a family, and we took them up to all the New Age shops and all the haunted locations and mystical places, and I took a little vacation from the hashtag Bruce Wayne job. Not long enough, 4 days, but it's funny because I always like give people vacations. I'll be like, yeah, take the Friday before and the Monday after. That's fine. really get it out of your system. And, so I don't have to hear you whine about your vacation again for a while. And here I feel guilty for taking 4 days. And my God, it felt so good. It felt so good.
You did really good.
It felt so good.
Disconnecting.
Yes. I disconnected the crap out of myself.
Yes.
But yeah, it was nice. But in that time, I packed that full of taking them to Salem, taking them to all these places, taking them to, all these haunted locations, haunted lot houses, and just cool places, little shops, gem shops that we like to go to, things like that. And that's a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
But then there was this real funny part. So in Salem, for those of you who have been to Salem, as many times as we have been to Salem, we have never went to the Salem Witch Museum.
Yes.
And I don't know why.
I don't either.
I think sometimes it's not open, or maybe. Sometimes we're just like, it's a witch museum. I mean, what could really be in there? So we went in there because we love that stuff. And we're just like, hey, when are they going to be back up here? Let's just treat them to this and go in there. And we were like the last people in that day. And, some British lady there, she's either British or Australian or doing a real bad accent of one or the other. But she was really sweet. And so we go in there and we sit down. And for those of you who have been in there, you'll know this already. And for those of you who haven't, when you go in there, you kind of sit in the dark. And there's this big giant room, kind of like if you can imagine a Catholic church with all the scary Jesuses that are up, up high. And you sit on these benches, okay? They're pretty uncomfortable, next to people you don't know, also uncomfortable. And you're in the dark, and there's this big red seal on the floor that's completely lit up with the names of the victims of the Salem witch trials. And it looks like when you first walk in, it kind of looks like a lit up pentagram.
It is odd.
It's a little satanic looking.
Yeah, well, they don't turn the lights on. She's just like, it's kind of dark in there, so watch your step, and then they make you go in.
So I can only imagine that somebody from Hammer Horror Studios had built the models that line the walls. As it tells the story, it lights up with, these little flashlights or whatever. It lights up the little parts of the mannequins as it goes around.
Different scenes.
The scenes, as it goes around, and it's frightening. And there's a giant devil, and we happen to sit right in front of it, and its eyes turn red and everything, and it's just that ambiance that we talk about. You remember the kids, the Everything's Scarier from the 70s?
Yes.
So you're sitting there, and it's all dark. You can't see who's beside you. And they start talking about blasphemy. They start talking about paranoia. They start talking about witchcraft. And you hear that voice. Just that voice that... Back in this time... Those who wanted to commune with the devil did so nakedly and sinfully, probably with their breastises hanging out, because that's how the devil likes it.
And it was just terrifying. And then they get to the part where the one girl she was temporarily saved because he turned her over his knee and spanked her bottom. You know, and this was really the thing, and it went around the whole thing, it went around the whole room, and it told this really creepy ass story.
Actually, pretty interesting, I thought.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
But that's very similar to the music that they played behind the story.
Yeah,
like we immediately were like, "Is this a horror film? What is this?"
Yeah, no, it was fantastic, and it was everything I love, and I'm not making fun of it in a bad way. Like it was everything, and what I'm doing is giving you an advertisement. Go to this place, and I want you to partake in something before you go in.
I felt kind of bad because we were having such a good time.
Just take a little nip out.
I think we may have been annoying some of the other people who were really like seriously intently
we were
listening.
laughing our asses off.
Well, when they were talking about the girls who weren't allowed to be frivolous.
Yes.
Hence they go to witchcraft. I don't know. It was great though. I loved it.
Oh yeah, we did.
I want to do it again.
Oh, it was fantastic. And it was just funny because so many times you may go by something and not ever give it a chance. And that one I will give quite a few chances. That can't get old to me.
No, it was great. That was only the first part. Like there's another part too. You walk into another room and there's anher presentation with, it's a little talking.
It's a little bit political. And I'm cool with the kind of politics it's pushing, but it's a little political on the other part. It's kind of funny because it's I can imagine that everything I ever heard, because I have a really good opinion of witchcraft and Wicca, and that it's of the earth and there's nothing dirty or satanic or anything like that. And it's all myths until I went through this place where they try to propaganda me in the second part of it, where they're just like, the sweet Wiccans have been completely persecuted through the years because this is what real Wiccans are, not this portrayal. And I'm just like, oh my God. The witches really have all the warts and they're flying with brooms and they're up controlling this in another room right now. It was really weird, man. I love it. I absolutely love it. But and Cody, he had a great time just because it reminded him of the witch's ghost. Not to give your age away there, but it was a good time.
Yes,
it always is. Anytime you get a chance to go to Salem, you need to go to Salem.
And of course, we hit all of our favorite shops.
Oh yeah,
and get all the stuff. And I bought a little cauldron.
Yes,
for John to burn his bay leaves in.
Yes,
so that we don't bust any candles, and if the smoke alarm tends to go off, you can put the little lid on. It's a little miniature cauldron. I believe we bought it at Omen. Yes, and it's a cute little thing. So I have to put my bay leaves in it, and Stacey's in love with it. But some of the other things that were really neat was anywhere we went this week, there was a lot of really crazy tides. We went to some places, some of the lighthouses we normally go to. It was just creepy because you see the yellow warning lights, and here comes the big tides coming in, and the waves that really will take you off these rocks. And it was just a really cool ambiance to everywhere we were. Yes, it was very cool throughout the entire week. So yeah. 2 thumbs up from me. I'm gonna have to take these vacation things more often. But every weekend with us is a vacation because we're always trying to go somewhere haunted. That's true. Somewhere new and cool. It was relatively warm. It was pretty chilly near the water, but it was for Maine. It was warmer than it has been. Yeah, like 50, that's which is a heat wave up here. But yeah, Salem's always a good time, and that's what we wanted to tell you because you have to go to Salem if you haven't been to Salem. Yes. But speaking of Salem, ParanormalSideshow.com. That's your address to go find everything witchy. It really is. Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. All kinds of witches on there. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. You can find your spells to find your lovers. On Instagram, Hot Spell Dam. It's John and Stacey Edwards. Not as many spells on there. No. It's just some people who's had bad spells occur to them, I believe, for the most part. YouTube.com/Paranormal Sideshow. That is where you can find the Till Death vlog that will eventually, when it warms up, be right back at you because there's not a whole lot we can do in the cold or when we go to Fort Knox and it's completely snowed under or completely like the whole Battery B was flooded up and couldn't go anywhere. It's hard to investigate when there's a lot of snow. It is. It just is. It just is. Please take a quick moment, guys, to follow, subscribe, or possess us.
our podcast, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, our Heart Radio, etc., etc., etc. That's where we're at. Please take the moment and like it and subscribe. Showcase your inner weird as well and support your favorite paranormal podcast, and that is us, by checking out all of our t-shirt designs over at tpublic.com/user/paranormal sideshow. I feel dirty when I say user.
You have to put it in there, though.
I know.
Or you can just go to our website and click the store link.
You can, or you can go to tpublic, that's teepublic.com/user/paranormal sideshow. And you'll find our #believer shirts and the Paranormal Sideshow just logo shirt and some of our little cool ones that we put in there, like #mommydaddytime.
Scientists are baffled.
Because the scientists are baffled. And they are all there for your liking and for your consumption. So you can go out and show everybody how cool you are by wearing a ParanormalSideshow.com t-shirt. And with that, I believe you guys have had to wait long enough. It's time for some paranormal news. Come on.
All right, let's get to the news.
Do you know what the come on was? That was like my CB talking.
Was it?
Yeah, I was like, come on now.
Was I supposed to respond to that?
I don't believe so. I don't know. We'll have to brush up on our CB stuff. I'm getting ready for the shortwave broadcast.
Yeah,
so.
We'll have to learn all the lingo.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's start with just a couple of updates. And I suppose we'll start with the Chinese space station, since we kind of already teased that a little bit, and it's been the source of some problems. Yeah, on the last episode.
Right.
So it did finally come down. It did land eventually. It did not land in the United States.
No, it did not. Well, close to like American Samoa and all that.
Well, it finally re-entered the Earth's atmosphere on Sunday night. Sunday night for us.
Right.
Yes. And it mostly burned up on re-entry over the central South Pacific. I think it landed kind of off the coast of Tahiti.
Okay. Where the women don't wear no shirts.
Exactly. And they were able to watch it. And they said that most of it didn't say how much it landed in the ocean. They just said most of it burned up. So to me, that means if it had come down over land, something would have got hit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They were like, oh, it's 1 in 1 trillion. But,
right.
If you're going to get hit. But, stuff did come down.
But the Earth's mostly water, and that's what people thought would happen. It hit water.
And it is. And it was a big deal for a while, but apparently it just ended up being normal, like what they expected.
Right.
Hit the water. So it's down. You can stop worrying about it.
I wonder if the Chinese are really upset now because they had their bomb in there. Like it just messed up. It was really supposed to hit us.
Now it's under the ocean.
Yeah. There's a bunch of zombie whales down there now. I don't know. It's just, it was really the start and the plot of a B movie.
It really was.
It was like, oh, this Chinese rocket. Oh my God, it's out of control. What are we going to do?
Still be the plot of a B movie. What if something comes out of the ocean now?
Oh, I hope it's the creature. I mean, really, I know it's not a black lagoon.
It is going to attack Tahiti.
Yeah. Oh, that wouldn't be cool at all.
No, but that's the closest thing. So
yeah. Well, watch out, Tahitians.
So this will be the last time.
By the way, the women do wear tops there. That's it's a line from a movie called Buddy Buddy.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I know you do, but I thought maybe they didn't.
No, maybe. I don't know.
Because we've talked about it before. Through the whole thing, the guy just says.
Yes, he wants to go to Tahiti where the women don't wear no tops.
Yes, exactly.
Like that.
Exactly.
So that's it. Chinese satellite out. And they actually have a second one that they're sending up. It's already built.
They should be allowed.
The Tiangong 2.
No, I think the Tiangkongs should not be allowed to go up.
No more?
No, I think we should cut China off. It's just ridiculous.
Well, I mean, they have some pretty big space aspirations.
Yeah, but I mean, they put one up and then you want another one 30 minutes later.
That's terrible. All right, so another update.
Yes.
And this is actually just something that I thought was really strange. It's not necessarily an update, but do you remember back on episode 43, we talked about that UFO sighting and the two planes saw it, and it was like the first plane flew over, and you had the guy in the back going UFO, when they were talking about it. Yeah. It
was great. It was a great story.
It was a great story. So here's the weird thing. That happened at the end of February, and we reported on it, weeks ago. Yeah. So this story has now been picked up by mainstream media this past week.
It took that long?
Yeah. Well, not only that, but they reported on it.
That's crazy.
Which is very strange. So I've seen it. It was weird because I saw the story and I was like, really? That happened again? But then when I looked at it, it's the exact same one that we already talked about, just that all the mainstream media channels have picked up the story and reported on it now.
So finally it got to that point where they were kind of like, I mean, it's an amazing story.
It is.
And
it is.
And to be corroborated by more than one, it's really nuts. But like you said, the bigger story here is not the UFO sighting.
Right.
It's why the heck is the mainstream media talking about it?
Yeah, just all of a sudden, because, they didn't have to pick that story up.
No.
It would have just gone away.
Yeah.
Because
people are used to them going away.
Right. And the only people that heard about it are people that listen to podcasts like ours or, read alternative news or look for that kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
So I just thought that was really unusual.
No, it is.
In the whole stream of things that they are actually talking about that.
Well, it's become more open because of the stuff that the government has released or the Two Stars Academy and all that stuff. It seems like people are more open than they ever were.
I suppose. I mean, could it be part of the thing where they're just trying to make it a normal conversation now? Like, let's talk about UFOs. That's a normal conversation for the news. I honestly
believe that UFOs have become a normal conversation now.
I feel like it has now, too.
So somewhat.
And pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
It is. It's weird that something that we never thought would be.
Right.
Right. So I'm trying your kettle out right now.
Oh, I wonder how this is going to go.
We're going to find it live on the air here. So, yeah.
That burned up pretty big. Oh, look, it works.
Oh, there you go. So that's
now, that doesn't mean you can stuff it completely full with bay leaves.
No.
You have to kind of, moderate.
Moderate?
Yeah, moderation here.
Well, no, I'm just going to put 4 in there.
Okay, that's fine. I think it could probably handle that.
Oh, God.
Oh, there you go. It's like a little fire. Look.
Oh, that looks really cool.
Yeah, it does.
I wish you guys could see this.
I kind of wish we had a little fire pit with a little hook we could hang it over. That's probably going to be hot. Be careful.
No, that's awesome. No, I like it. I'm actually going to take a picture of it.
Oh, are you?
And I will put it out, and they won't know what this is.
Right. They're just going to be like,
until they listen to the show.
Good gracious is that?
Yeah. Until they listen to the show, they're not going to have any clue what this is.
Okay.
So you can continue on there.
Okay. Are you good? Do you need to relight it or anything?
No, I got it.
All right. Well, let me just go on with this next update.
All right.
This is an update to a story we did last week about the Atacama alien mummy.
The poor little mummy trying to find out who alien daddy was.
And how they did the DNA testing on it and found out.
Can you see like the reptilian and like the gray sitting there and they're just like, no, not mine. It's,
the scientist, Gary Nolan, he claimed that it was a little girl, just with a lot of deformities and defects.
Right.
So this story,
which I still think is caca.
Yeah, it's very strange. So this story that's come out, it's actually caused some serious backlash from Chile's scientists and government officials. They claim that the specimen was illegally obtained by grave robbing and that it shouldn't even have left the country. So that any testing done on it is unethical and therefore tarnished.
Wow.
It's very, very strange.
So basically the Chilean government is upset of the results.
Well, they're just upset that it was tested on at all.
Yeah.
And that somehow they're claiming that it was obtained illegally or unethically. And I guess they didn't realize that it was out of the country. They're saying they didn't know it was even out of the country.
Right.
Which is really weird. Now, the scientists that did this study claim that, they were not unethical, that they didn't realize that it was obtained illegally. Right. It's been in the country, over 15 years it's been out of Chile.
Right.
And that they were not aware that it was human when they did the test.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they were purposely testing on a little girl.
Right.
Without the consent of the family or whatever. So
I could have sworn that since that original alien had been found, or that skeleton had been found, that they found another one on a TV show in the Atacama Desert. And
well, I know this particular one was in a documentary.
Was it?
Yes, but I don't know if they found any others.
This one, I remember the discovery on this one. I don't know. That's neither here nor there.
Right.
It's weird that the Chilean government is getting upset about this, especially since they're saying that any result is flawed.
Yeah, like just because they don't agree with how it was done doesn't change the results of a DNA test.
It doesn't, but I just think it's weird almost that it sounds like they're like kind of upset that of what the results were, which I don't believe the results anyway.
Right. We thought that was just really weird.
Well, it doesn't make sense. That would be the only specimen that we've ever heard of that was that formed.
Yeah.
And to be the age they think it is, and to be that fully formed and that hard. And a lot of it didn't add up or make sense.
No, I agree. And it is weird for them to be overly upset about it, like to this degree.
Yeah.
And asking for the journal that published the paper to retract it.
Right.
So I don't know. Just a little update. It's really strange because normally Chile is pretty cool with stuff like that.
Chile is super cool with like UFO hunters, and their government's pretty cool with all that too. So yeah, maybe they're kind of upset that they came out saying it was human. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. But I'll put a link to that. You can look at all the information that they gave on it. And that's all the updates. So this next story is a news story.
Oh,
it's about
story.
A ghost plane.
Oh, yes.
A supposed ghost plane.
That sounds good. Let's go.
All right. So there have been tons of sightings over Derbyshire of what people are calling a ghost plane. And a lot of people called in and they claim that they saw a dark, low plane that was completely silent flying over the area. And nobody could figure out what it was. And the newspaper actually reported on the story. And then after they reported on it, dozens more people called in and said, yeah, I saw that.
Wow.
So it was a very widespread sighting.
I wonder how many people reported on it before the newspaper reported it.
Several, enough for them to report it.
Okay.
To make a
wasn't
just
the newspaper reported one and then everybody else said, oh, no, we saw it too.
No. And there were pictures.
Really?
Like when you look at the news story, a couple people took some pictures.
Wow.
So there's been some developments since this happened. They did a second story claiming, all the dozens more people had made reports. But then the RAF, the Royal Air Force, has actually stepped in to take credit for the plane. They've actually look, it's not a ghost plane. This is what it is. And they're claiming that it is an RAF C-130 Hercules aircraft.
Okay, wait a second. A C-130 is my favorite plane. You know that. That's the big, giant C-130s.
Right. And they claim that...
But they're not silent, dear.
Well, I understand that. Yes. I'm telling you what the RAF has come out and said. So, they said that they can confirm that 3 of them were flying over that area at that particular time. So at the time that I was researching this story, I knew I had heard about that plane before, but I didn't really remember what it looked like. So I looked up a YouTube video of this particular C-130 Hercules aircraft, and it looks exactly like the pictures, like it's got the props on it. It's dark in color. It flies low. All of that fits, but it's like you said, the only part of the story that doesn't fit is it's not silent. There's no way that plane, from what I heard in that YouTube video, could fly over and people not hear it.
Yeah, no, a C-130 is ridiculously loud.
Yes, it's ridiculously loud. So it seems like people are just taking this explanation as though that's what it is. But I don't know. I still have a question about it.
Okay, so a C-130, just from being next to an airport, a military airport all the time, it's unbelievable what it sounds like. And this is just, one taking off a little bit, but man, you feel it in your bones. And it's just this whine. There's a whine to it, and it's just really crazy.
It is crazy. Well, I'll actually link to this video I watched because it's a video of the plane actually flying overhead. You can see that it does fly low. You can see that the shape of it is the same shape as what they saw in the pictures, but you can also hear how loud it is. So it's very strange. I don't know if that's really the explanation.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, if it looks like a duck, but it doesn't sound like a duck.
Right.
Is it a duck? And
the really odd thing about it is everybody that claimed they saw it, they all mentioned that it made no sound at all.
Yeah, that's just weird.
And even one woman that called in, she saw it, and another guy standing there that she didn't even know saw it as well.
It's just weird because if it was anything else, if it wasn't a freaking C-130, That's just strange.
Yeah, and so the RAF is claiming that they've actually gotten more of those planes, that they fly over that area quite often because it's not as populated and that the terrain is good for their training
exercises. So why don't they just fly
exercises.
it right back? And in that way, it'll put it to bed. Let's just fly right back through there again. And let's just put this to rest for all the poor people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would put it to rest. I mean, it seems like a non-story here, but the problem is the sound.
Yeah. That one detail from all the sightings just doesn't seem to fit with the explanation.
Right. Like it's one step off from the correct reality.
Right. I don't see how you could have one of those planes fly over and be completely silent.
No.
There's no way.
It's impossible.
Especially as low as it was flying. All right, so let's move on to the next story. And this is the one about the SpaceX launch that just happened recently where the feed got cut.
Oh, yeah, with my favorite madman, Elon Musk.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he's right up there with Mad Mike.
Yes.
Except he's like Mad Mike with money.
Yeah, and he can actually build rockets.
Right.
Like actual rockets.
Bite your tongue. If Mad Mike had the right bankroll, I think that he would make a fairly appropriate rocket.
We'll find out, won't we?
Anyway, Elon Musk, before you get into this story.
Okay.
I had my issues with him because of the Tesla self-driving vehicles.
Right.
There's a reason for that. I don't want to ever have self-driving vehicles because I like to drive.
Right.
I like the feeling of my hand on the gear shift. I like the tires hugging the road. I like 400 horsepower.
Right.
That's what I enjoy. I'm a car guy. I enjoy cars. Little known fact. Hashtag car guy. But Elon Musk, I'm cool with him because he makes an exciting car. Plus, he makes innovation. His cars happen to kill people every now and then, like last week, but it does happen. But here's the thing I really dig about this guy.
Okay.
Okay. Well, there's a few things.
Right.
Like the fact he just randomly digs tunnels and, just things like that.
He's eccentric.
He's eccentric and he's awesome. But he let out the details and of last week's crash where somebody got killed and that it was the car's fault.
Right.
He let those details out. And I guess the people at the crash industry, I don't know. Excuse me, people. I didn't read this story. This was like, I read it quickly.
Right.
They got really mad at him for like letting all that out. Now, most companies would kind of hide that stuff.
Well, yeah, they don't want you to know when their products fail.
He's not like that. He puts it right out there. So this guy's always trying to push the envelope. He's trying to be, he canceled his Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, when that came out about, the fact that thing we all knew for the last 10 years that Facebook was selling our data, they were watching everything we do, but they're also giving that data to people. He got rid of all that. Just to say, two Tesla fingers up in the air. But I really like this guy because he feels like our billionaire.
Right.
Like what would you do if you had all that money? Well, I would make the coolest looking car ever. I would shoot a car into space with a dead body of a dead hooker in the back. And
that was the conspiracy theory, wasn't it?
Yeah, that there's a dead body.
And as eccentric as he is, that's not too far off.
Oh, I would totally shoot a dead hooker into space. Just so aliens would, they're taking bets on what do you think it is? It's got to be a dead hooker. It's from the earth, so.
Nobody will ever find out.
No, they won't.
How would you ever find out?
You'd have to fly up there.
That's crazy.
You'd have to get your own little company and go and find out. Somebody will find out someday. And, 1,000 years from now, they're going to open that up and they're going to be, oh my God, it wasn't a mannequin. Oh, what about this? Sometimes the big conspiracy theory is that they kill off celebrities when they're not acting correctly and they clone them.
Oh.
What if Elon Musk is in his own car?
And it's his clone down here now.
Yeah.
Ooh. I think you just started a new one.
Oh my God, they sent Elon Musk up in his own car.
It's poetic justice.
Wow.
That's a good theory.
All right. Well, I think we could just stop right now. Where's my mic at? I'm just going to drop it. That's it. That's the conspiracy theory. I'm going to, you know what I'm going to do?
What?
I'm going to make a YouTube video later tonight.
Okay.
And I want you to help me here. And we're going to put some really smart words. and it's just going to have some music in the background, like, and it's going to have the words come up pretty quickly, but with some big like SAT words in there.
Right.
Talking about, in whatever year. We got to Wikipedia at first. We'll do a little work.
Right.
Whatever year he first started the Tesla and all this stuff. But then we have to put something in there where he pissed the government off, right? Somewhere in there where he pissed the government off.
Right.
And then we put in there the fact that they've cloned him, and let's find something weird that looks different now than it did.
Like his hair is different,
some kind of weird,
something.
Like
one eye is higher than the other, or something silly,
something crazy, right? that we could put up there, and then start that theory. We'll do it under an assumed name.
Yeah, except now we just told everybody.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, if you guys see that video, it's totally not us. And if it's like, Sarah Normal Pod Show.
I want to do it under Sarah Normal Pod Show.
All right. So go ahead with the story. I'm sorry.
So anyway, SpaceX had a launch on March 30th.
Yes.
And they were sending up some communications satellites, from California. And about 9 minutes into the launch, the feed got cut. And it went to a little dude in a headset that was like narrating the launch, telling you everything that was happening. And what he said was, due to some restrictions from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA.
The people, like NOAA weather radio that's never like updated their gear. Like if you listen to it right now, if you go by a weather radio, it's going to be like, at 7 p.m., it says that there's a storm heading at 30 miles due west with winds at 30 knots. And it's going to be headed to this NOAA weather radio. And I mean,
maybe they use shortwave radio.
From when I was a kid to now, not only does it sound like the same song bitch that I listened to up here, was down in Tennessee, was in Georgia, anywhere I've ever been, right? It's the same song bitch. It's the same guy.
Right.
But it's not. It can't be, right? No, it'll be like, at 6:13 in Augusta, it's spotted a tornado.
Maybe it's just a computer voice.
They didn't have that computer voice when I was a child. If they did, it would have took like a city block to create that computer voice. Are you kidding?
That's true.
It's like,
I don't know. Now that you mention
this building houses our computer voice,
Now that you mention it, it is very similar.
I can only imagine this guy going home at night. And he, he takes off his coat and he goes, his wife's sitting there and she's probably dressed like a 1950s wife. And,
right.
He's got his little kid sitting there and stuff, looking like the Hitler Youth. And he's going to sit down and there's his peas and his Salisbury steak and everything. and she's like, and how was your day today, honey? And he's like, well, it's pretty good. It's, just another day at the office. And it's weird that it's the same voice, man.
Maybe all the guys that do that go to the same class to learn how to speak like that.
Teach them how to talk like that?
You have to speak like this or you don't get the job.
Oh, that's weird. I want to go to NOAA broadcasting class. That's very strange. I just thought I would throw that in, but why is NOAA stopping us from being able to see cool dead people in space?
Okay, so basically he said that SpaceX was intentionally ending the live video coverage of the second stage just prior to engine shutdown because of the NOAA restrictions, and that they're addressing the restrictions with NOAA to hopefully be able to bring you live views in the future. So NOAA actually did put out a statement the same day. And they claim that the National and Commercial Space Program Act requires a commercial remote sensing license for companies having the capacity to take an image of Earth while in orbit. And
oh God, flat Earth is, I could hear them rumbling now.
And that you have to have a license, and that SpaceX did apply and received the license, but it included conditions on their ability to live stream from space. Now, what's so weird about this is when they shot the Tesla into space, the car, there was like 3 views and from space, and you could see the Earth, and it was like camera. Yeah. And now for some reason on this particular launch, there were these restrictions. And SpaceX actually said that they don't expect to have a similar issue on the next launch, which was actually today. So
crazy.
I don't know what was different about this launch
know.
where they supposedly are just launching communication satellites. It's supposed to be some kind of national security issue or some kind of bureaucracy nonsense that they spouted out so that they couldn't live stream, once they got so far into orbit.
It's really weird. The last time Noah had restrictions, we only got 2 gorillas on the ark. But I mean, it's just really, really weird, man. It's I don't know why they would. Do you think they had, this is kind of strange because I doubt you have this story because it's one of those weird ones I was diving deep on. But there's been these weird lights being seen lately.
Right.
From commercial airlines looking down, they've been seeing these like giant red circles.
Right.
And even from the ground, there's been people seeing like these mostly red,
right,
but these huge red circles in space. And then there was a from the ISS. Okay, just this past week, you guys can look this up and find it. This past week, the International Space Station, on the horizon, there was this giant red light.
That's weird.
And this big red circle. But also, if you look up red circle in clouds, UFO, something, you'll find it over the past week.
Well, let me tell you something silly. I do have a story here. Let me just find it. Right here. I do have a story I was going to do later from Phoenix, Arizona. And I actually picked this story up because it was from Phoenix, where people were sending in photos and video to the local Fox network because of this really strange, quote, cloud that was in the sky. And it was like a circle. And it said that an official from the National Weather Service didn't know what it was, but claimed that it looked very reminiscent of rocket and missile exhaust that's high in the atmosphere.
Oh.
And it was a really strange looking kind of circle. There's pictures. And it was a really strange kind of circle cloud. It was weird enough that a bunch of people took pictures and sent it in and was like, what's this?
Right.
So it's weird that you mentioned that because I didn't know anything about that. I just grabbed this story because anytime I see something from Phoenix, that's possible UFO, I always try to grab it because you never know.
No, it is very strange. It is very similar too. I mean, because that story wouldn't be such a big story unless you knew this other stuff. But yeah,
right.
It's actually some stuff that was not. Sometimes a story has to have enough words to it to make it a story for the show.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I don't bring it to you if I find something that's like just some video footage. But then when you see several pieces of video footage together, one of which was that ISS footage, and then there was the footage from this UFO.
It's weird. You'll have to send me some links.
Some of the stuff from the ground
put some links up
as well. So it was a lot of color, a lot of red lights that shouldn't be there. One of them reminded me of like an old 80s UFO movie where you would see the UFO taking off and everything would be like red and through the trees.
Right.
That's what it reminded me of.
Oh, well, that's really interesting. So yeah, I'll just pop this in here then. I was going to mention it later just as something interesting to go look at, but that's crazy that it kind of goes along with.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. And I was just saying maybe that can correspond with why they didn't want SpaceX at this particular time. Maybe we hit some visitors.
I mean, perhaps. And I did actually...
It's time to re-up the Galactic Treaty.
That's true. I did actually turn the launch on today. NASA was live streaming the launch because the SpaceX was actually taking things to the International Space Station. It was actually like supplies or whatever. And I watched part of the launch on that one. But it's hard with NASA because they don't do a continuous live stream. They like switch to this and switch to this. And here's a control room of all these people sitting in Houston. Like you care what they're doing.
Right.
And so I watched it for a few minutes, but I was like, it didn't blow up. So whatever, I'll just turn it off.
She didn't mean that.
Well, there wasn't any people on it.
Should see her watch NASCAR.
All right, so let's move on. So this is a pretty interesting story. You're going to like this one. So this is about the UFO grave, supposed alien grave in Aurora, Texas. Do you know about this story?
Yes, I do. Of course I do.
Okay, so let me just tell the story just in case there's people out there that don't really know.
The one from like turn of the century.
From 1897.
Yeah.
Yes. So supposedly back in April of 1897, there was a lot of sightings of like a great airship around Texas. And on April 17th, the airship supposedly crashed into Judge Proctor's windmill and burst into flames. And among the wreckage, the residents found the disfigured remains of what they claim was an alien creature. That you couldn't really tell what it was, but they said that it wasn't a person. And they named him Ned.
Yeah.
They gave him a proper Christian burial in the local cemetery.
Yes, they did.
So there's actually even a newspaper article that still exists from then. And I'll link to this story because there's actually, you can see the original newspaper article.
For years and years and years, when ufologists would go there, they would find signals underneath the ground where Ned was buried that disappeared not so long ago. You stopped being able to get the hits. It used to be that it would like set off, I believe, radiation, or it would set off a metal detector. I think it was metal detector, where Ned was supposed to be buried. And then all of a sudden, recently, it
just
was
quit?
It was gone. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, very much.
Well, it was funny because this original newspaper article on the link that I went to was actually provided to them by Jim Mars, who pointed out that there were multiple stories on that same front page about flying object sightings and things like that. So back then, when they first buried him, there was like a tombstone, like this weird hand-carved, tombstone. And it had like this alien spaceship-looking cigar-shaped aircraft with 3 holes. And in 1972, that was stolen. So they replaced the tombstone that got stolen, and it was also stolen in 2012. And the first one was stolen. It wasn't stolen until 1972 because nobody really knew about it, and MUFON did a story on it.
Yeah.
And after they did a story on it, someone went and stole it.
Of course they did.
So now there's just a boulder that sits there that kind of marks, I guess they figured people can't steal a boulder. That kind of marks where the grave is. So this local lawyer, a Dallas lawyer, is actually offering $1,000 for the return of the grave marker, or for information that can help them recover the grave marker. I don't know. He didn't say even the original or the replacement.
So I'll tell you what. I'll give you $5,000 to the person who has it to just sell it to me. I mean, $1,000, really?
Yeah, he said $1,000. He just,
how generous.
He went there to visit it. He took his kids there. He was telling them the story. He thought it was this great piece of history, but he was like, it's sad that this piece of history was taken. And he said, no questions asked. I don't care who has it or what happened to it. I would just like to return it to where it goes, and offered this reward because, it's coming up on the anniversary, April 17th. It's cool. Like 121 years.
Yeah, wow.
And this still persists. This story is still big.
It's a huge story. It's a huge story. It's a bigger story about what happened there, if they dug it up or not, which most people believe.
So a lot of people believe, I think, that the government came and got it and just covered it back up so nobody actually really knows.
Yeah, they put Jimmy Hoffa down there.
Is that the story?
Yeah. No, it's not, but it is now.
Well, what's also really strange about this and all the sightings is, as early as this was, it was before airplanes and, things like that. So I don't know, crazy. It's crazy. And it's nice of him to try and want to recover it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if he's going to get any traction on it.
No, I mean, I thought the whole story was cool. I always have. I mean, I always thought it was cool that the town was like, well, let's give him a good Christian burial,
He's just an alien
our
who
little
lost
Martian,
his way.
Our little Martian, He's been flying around here for a few weeks now.
See, and they didn't freak out, did they?
No.
They thought it was an alien. No freaking.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy. There you go.
Of course, they probably shot him down.
Do you think?
Yeah, they just feel bad now.
Well, if he didn't die in the crash, they would have killed him for busting into somebody's windmill.
They probably launched cows at him or something. Just whatever they had useful back then.
Launched cows.
I mean, what else are you going to do? Just like get a giant catapult. And
Is that why aliens abduct cows now?
Oh, my God. We have figured out so many things on this episode.
I know. They're like, they launch cows at us. We need to steal all the cows.
That was the last signal they got from the first homie that made it here. He sent us like one little 2-second clip of video of this cow like right toward the windshield. And then it took all these eons later, they come back, but it took them to 1947 and they come back and they're looking for these bastards that took out their friend,
They think it's the cow's fault.
So ever since then, they've been really taking it to these cows, man, ripping their tongues out.
Oh, God.
Trying to get information about where that one milk cow is.
I can't believe we never figured it out till now.
It all makes so much sense.
It does.
It's all been the cows the whole time. Cows versus aliens.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I will keep that updated to see if he ever recovers that interesting tombstone. I feel like somebody's going to make a tombstone, because there's pictures of it that looks kind of like it, because no questions asked, and they're gonna be like, here you go.
Hashtag Bayleaf logic.
All right. So speaking of good logic, let's move on to a few discoveries that have happened recently. Okay, so this one was actually pretty cool. Astronomers have discovered the most distant star they've ever seen.
Wow.
It's 9 billion light years from Earth. So it's this new study where they use this weird technique that they couldn't normally see this star.
Yeah, like refractor light.
Yeah, it's like this crazy scientific, and it just so happens called gravitational lensing.
Like imagination light. They've got this poor little Pete in this dark room. They're like, all right, Pete, we've got the telescopes going as far as they can. Now we need you to really concentrate. And you draw what you see. But it's just my imagination. Shut up, Pete. You're ruining the project. We got all kinds of funds coming to this. I mean, because you always hear about it. It's like, yes, they use 40 mirrors and a computer program.
Yes.
They found this.
It's called gravitational lensing. But that isn't the only
something
thing.
The kids are doing.
They're actually saying that through a quirk of nature, it amplified the star's glow and allowed the Hubble Space Telescope to actually pinpoint it.
Wow.
So they say that the observed light from this newly discovered star was emitted when the universe was only about 30% of its current age, which was about 4.4 billion years after the Big Bang.
Oh.
So a long time ago, and we're just now seeing the light.
Yeah, if you believe in the Big Bang.
Emitted that long ago.
So, I mean, there was probably somebody with electricity on the Earth at that point, is what they're saying.
It's just very strange that they can tell that kind of thing.
They can't. Here, just a clue, hashtag scientists are baffled. Okay, they don't know.
Well, there was a study about it, and it's in the Nature Astronomy. It's a British journal.
They got to protect their funny baloney jobs.
They're like, look, we found this star. It's 9 billion light years away. You'll never see it again because it was a freak of nature that allowed us to see it the first time.
Just so happened.
Just trust us.
Yeah.
It's there.
We captured it with the great big ass telescope. I love the stuff they named.
That would be a British telescope, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, the European Observatory of this is the biggest telescope for reals.
Only they take the first letter of every word and make some nonsense
weird
word.
Foobar or something. They have so much fun at the Science Academy.
Well, on the same space themed, there has been this new study came out that said scientists believe that the clouds on Venus could harbor biological alien life. Oh. That it's possible that we could, if we could test the atmosphere around Venus, that it's possible that we would find biological life.
Okay, so when did they come out with this report?
This was just published on March 30th in the journal.
March 30th was a big day.
Journal Astrobiology. And this is from a team of researchers in California. And they say that the chemical and physical properties, as well as the moderate temperatures and pressure, could support the assumption that the clouds could host alien life forms.
Wow.
So apparently you can do a study where you say this is possibly possible, but we haven't proved it, but possibly it could happen.
I like the possibility, though.
Yeah, and that's a lot closer than anywhere else.
Be living in the clouds, kind of like that Doctor Who episode where the fish were in the clouds.
Yes.
That'd be kind of cool.
But these are just like biological. I don't think that I think they just mean like little micro organisms.
Why is it always little microbes?
I don't know. Maybe they don't want to find anything bigger than that.
I guess.
All right. So let's go into our next discovery.
Okay.
And this is the discovery of the oldest human footprints in North America.
Oh.
They have been discovered.
In Maine?
No. Close. Canada.
Oh, yeah. That is close. So was it a boot?
I don't think it was.
Okay.
So they've discovered footprints from 3 Ice Age humans who walked the shores of a Canadian island about 13,000 years ago. And they've left these footprints in the clay. There's about 29 of them, and they were found
near like a big hole in Nova Scotia.
No, was found under the sand on Calvert Island in British Columbia. Oh. And they say that they belong to 2 adults and 1 child, and that the variety of footprints seems
the child getting half price.
Seems to indicate that they were doing more than just walking by. Like maybe they were
that sounded
living
really
there
suspect
for a
there
while.
for a second. Looks like they were doing more than just walking by.
So this is actually backed it up, the oldest footprints they've ever found. Now they've actually found.
And how long ago is it?
They think that these are about 13,000 years ago for these particular footprints. But they've actually uncovered artifacts with a similar date range to the footprints at Charlie Lake Cave in British Columbia, as well as the Vermilion Lakes in Alberta, Canada. So they knew that there were people around there. They just had not found this kind of evidence of them. Like this is the first time they found the actual footprints.
Really cool, man.
So that's pretty cool. They were really excited about that.
Anything that pushes it back.
All right. So last discovery, you're going to like this one.
All right.
So this is about a centuries-old sailing ship that washed up on a Florida beach.
Oh, I love these.
Yes, on Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida.
Where was that at?
Ponte Vedra Beach,
Okay.
Florida. They call it the, quote, holy grail of shipwrecks.
Oh, wow.
So a 48-foot section.
Do you know what the Holy Grail of shipwrecks would be?
What?
The one that actually had the damn Holy Grail on it.
That would be amazing.
I'm so sick of everybody thinking the Holy Grail is like every time you're trying to get funding,
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're trying to, climb a mountain or go to the bottom of the ocean or whatever you're trying to do. They're like, we believe that the Grail could be there. And everybody's like, oh, wait, it's just like, take my money now.
The Holy Grail could be anywhere.
It could be.
Yeah.
Or anything. Or nothing.
True.
There you go. I get philosophical.
So it was a 48-foot section of an old sailing ship that washed ashore on the Florida beach.
All right.
And researchers were obviously thrilled.
Yeah.
And they rushed to study it because they don't want the sea to come in and take it back out. It said researchers with the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum had kind of been documenting it and say that it could date back as far as the 1700s.
Wow.
And it's extremely rare for wreckage of this size to wash ashore.
Yeah, it's happened a lot recently though. All up and down the eastern seaboard, we've seen all kinds of wreckage like this coming out, and that's weird that the sea has been giving up its booty.
Yes,
that bothers me a little bit. I don't think anybody's really noticed this lately to this degree, but there has been a whole lot of weird going on with this and with tides. I've seen some stories recently about weird tides and about the fact that tides are going out further than they should and coming in more than they should.
Right.
And like we said this past week, there was these giant waves where waves are not big like that.
No, that's
we were
true.
seeing 20-foot waves. And you don't normally see that. So I think it's weird about all this stuff that's come up, especially in the New England area, but now down in Florida.
Yeah. Well, what was weird about this one is some of the stuff that we've seen has been uncovered. This wasn't there before. Like it wasn't uncovered.
Yeah,
like I think
came
it
from the
actually
ocean.
washed up, and they were taking pictures of it and they're going to make a 3D model of it. But one thing that I thought was really cool is one of the museum historians told the newspaper that the evidence suggests that the vessel was once sheeted in copper, and they actually found Roman numerals carved onto one of the wooden ribs.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of really cool information that they're getting from this, that they're trying to document, why they can.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So they're not sure. It's up to the state to decide what to do with the wreckage, if they're going to try and move it and keep it, or if they're just going to let it go back.
Good Lord. Florida's great at deciding stuff. So.
So
hanging chads.
There's actually some pictures. You can look at them. I'll link to this article, but it's very cool.
Yeah.
It's really awesome.
It's a very neat story, man. I just wonder what's going on with these tides.
Yeah. It's really strange.
It's been happening worldwide, actually. There's been a lot of strangeness going on with the tides and with the water. So, we just had this blue moon.
That's true.
And a lot of weirdness around the whole full moon this time. So, I don't know. Cool.
All right, well, let's move on.
Let's.
So this is a story about the haunted Grand Midway Hotel. And we've actually spoke of this hotel before. Do you remember we did a story a while back about the world's largest Ouija board? And it was painted on the
top,
roof.
Yeah, on top of the roof.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's this place.
Oh, my God. But we said back then, that's got to be the worst idea ever.
Yeah, probably.
And then we even debated whether or not it was really haunted and it sounded like a publicity stunt.
Right. Well, according to this new article, if you don't remember, the haunted Grand Midway Hotel was actually bought by this man named Blair Murphy for like $11,000. It was a wreck, needed to be restored. He moved out from California. He's an artist.
Right.
And so since he bought it and moved back, he's actually lived in it. Since he bought it. And he's been fixing it up. And now it supposedly houses several artists. Like there's several artists that live there.
Well, you have one and they all just move in.
It has 32 rooms. But this article is about 2 rooms that they have done in a theme that are actually now open as an Airbnb. Places to stay. So you can actually go on Airbnb and you can rent one of these 2 rooms. One is called the Vampire Suite and one is called the Traveler Suite. They are working on a 3rd room,
the Zombie Suite,
the Monkey Suite. That's going to be open. I don't know what that means.
I want to stay in the Monkey Suite.
Well, supposedly this story this hotel has lots of history, and it does have some famous ghost stories attached to it. And I'm going to link to their website because you can go on there and it breaks it down floor by floor, different stories, things that have happened. And Blair Murphy, he was talking about how when he first moved in, he didn't really notice anything. I think he said he grew up in a funeral parlor. So he said things like that just don't bother him.
Haunted in Connecticut.
Didn't really notice any kind of weird activity until him and some of his friends were playing with a Ouija board one night, which is how they got the idea to do the Ouija board up on the roof. Jesus. And then he said it kind of kicked up some activity.
Right.
So there are different things that happen now. Supposedly, they got the Guinness Book of World Records for the world's largest Ouija board, but supposedly they also have the record for the world's largest tarot card, which is obviously painted there somewhere.
Which one did they use?
I don't know. I didn't see a picture of it. It just mentioned it in the, maybe, it just mentioned it in the article. I didn't actually see which one it was, but they're going for a 3rd record of the world's largest gathering of wizards.
Oh, well, that's cool.
So if you ever dreamed of staying, this is in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So if you ever dreamed of staying in this haunted hotel that has this awesome history, there are 2 rooms that you can now rent Airbnb, and they're hoping to keep opening more and more.
I'm sure they are.
I don't know. It's kind of cool. It'd be a cool place to see.
It's cool. It sounds fun. It sounds fun. And there's not a lot of stuff like that in Pennsylvania for people. So,
No, this is true.
Go check out Gettysburg and stay in a haunted
hotel
Airbnb.
All right. Well, the next couple of stories that I have are about weird things that are going on with animals. And we've had a couple of stories in the past, fairly recently. We had the one about the monkeys, that were doing weird things. We won't go into that. We had the story about the birds in Australia that, set fires to...
Yeah, those weird ass birds.
drive out their prey and that kind of thing. And so, it's just weird that we keep having stories of animals doing strange things.
Yes.
So this is a story from Connecticut where the police had actually put out a warning because there were hawks that were dive bombing people and clawing their heads.
Jeez, Alfred Hitchcock anyone?
In a couple of different areas. So this is in Fairfield.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. And in recent weeks, people that were walking on a certain couple of streets, these animals would just dive bomb them and try to grab their hair.
Well, I'm safe.
So they've had to call in specialists to try and relocate the hawks.
AKA hunters.
No, animal control officers.
Right. No, I gotcha.
So I think the prevalent theory here is that maybe they're nesting. And they feel like people are getting too close, but I don't know. That just doesn't seem right.
No, it sounds terrifying.
But it does sound terrifying. Crazy hawks just dive bombing people's heads. I was looking at the comments on this article, and some people are so stupid. They're like, just wear a hard hat.
Right.
Like that's really going to solve the problem.
Go ahead and wear your hard hat and wait till you hear it.
Yeah. Tell a little kid that's playing outside to put a hard hat on.
So as soon as you're walking down the street. No.
Yeah, no. I mean, hawks are scary. Those big claws.
Yeah, they're terrifying.
Talons, whatever you call them.
Yeah, don't. I mean, my God, that's scary. I mean, I just seen 2 eagles, and they're majestic and beautiful, but good Lord, I don't want them to come.
Yeah, swoop down at your head.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah, because the way...
Hopefully your ravens would protect us.
The way birds work, they would go for the soft, fleshy part, like your eyeballs and stuff first. Like they'd swoop down and try to blind you and grab your hair. And birds are mean.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Especially when they're trying to protect things.
They're terrifying. They're little miniature dinosaurs.
So that I thought that was really weird. But there's also this other story from California, from the San Diego County coast, where squirrels have overrun some of the cities and they can't get rid of them, and that they're not scared of people anymore. And they'll just run right up to you. And one guy said they'll just scamper right up to you and like steal your Doritos or something, or bite you or anything.
I told everyone years ago. I told you.
You did.
Years ago. Mowing the yard. Innocently on a riding lawnmower. And then it happened. This squirrel. I was at my buddy's house. And he had to mow the yard that day.
Right.
And we couldn't go out until he finished mowing the yard. And so I was helping him, and there we were, and all of a sudden this squirrel came up, and it made this weird squirrel sound. Like I didn't know squirrels could bark. And it was like,
I guess they kind of do.
It was like a squirrel bark, and he was just chasing us. He just started chasing us. He was like so mad, like we had like went over his nuts or something.
Maybe you did.
I don't know. And he was just like, I mean, and I never thought I would be terrified of a squirrel, you know? And it took
little sharp teeth.
It took me a couple of years to get over that.
Yeah,
and then you look at them, you decide they're rats. They're rats with a fuzzy tail. They're vermin. You know. So anytime people have ever been, oh, look at this sweet little squirrel, I don't do that.
No, I know.
I don't like squirrels. And I put up with Stacey, who is like living with nature itself.
Well, we have a squirrel that lives in our tree. We're not overrun with squirrels, but we have a really fat squirrel that lives in our tree. Yes. And I don't feed him or anything.
My dear
He's just
wife.
very fat.
My dear sweet wife has ravens that just show up anywhere we live, which you guys know from listening. Any kind of stray animal, they just know. They just know. And you know, they always give me the look, though. They always give me the side eye over the shoulder. But no, squirrels, I just don't like squirrels. I seen it years ago, and I've always said I hate squirrels.
Yes. Well,
so, and what do they really benefit us? I mean, do they pollinate anything? Or
I don't think so.
I mean, do they do anything?
Do they eat anything bad?
Right. Do they take out spiders? Or
I mean, not that I'm aware of. Now, they kind of attribute this to the fact that people feed them, you know, because they're at the beach and there's a lot of people there, and people see them and they're like, oh, look, cute little squirrel, and they feed them.
I will say, when I was a kid, we'd go to Myrtle Beach quite often.
Right.
And we would stay in a camper. So you'd stay, you know, it was the Edward side. So we would go stay in his camper and their camper or whatever. And I remember squirrels coming up to the picnic tables.
Right.
And it was like a normal thing. And everybody was used to it. And they're like, oh, hey, they'll come up here and they'll just sit here and eat.
Yeah.
You know, they'd break bread, say the Lord's Prayer, you know, whatever.
Of course, in the South they would.
It's like, it's your turn, squirrel.
Well, you know, they also breed very quickly because they're, you know,
because they're squirrels.
Rodents. Yeah. And so they're having trouble. They're having trouble keeping the population under control.
Really?
And it's funny because
maybe I do share
it
something
does mention
squirrels.
that close by is the Torrey Pines State Natural Reserve.
Right.
People aren't allowed to bring food in there. So they don't have an overpopulation of squirrels. There's only a few squirrels that live there because of the limited amount of food. And so at the beach where there's tons of people and tons of food, they're getting overrun by the squirrels. So I don't know. They don't even know what to do about it. They're like, don't feed the squirrels, but of course people feed them anyway, and they're not really sure how to get rid of them.
I've got an idea.
What's that?
I think we should catch some of the hawks in Connecticut.
There you go.
And take the hawks from Connecticut for a little trip.
Right.
Over to California. Give it about 2 months. We can tag the bastards, the whole thing. And after about 2 months, let's just take them back home.
There you go. Just let them eat some squirrels.
They'll
for a
be
while.
so fat that they won't even care about dive bombing anymore.
They'll go
and
home.
the squirrel population will be either scared to death and left, or they'll be under control.
See, the animal control people should listen to our show.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Problem solved. Take the weird attacking hawks to California.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, as my son likes to say, natural selection.
You don't have that problem in the South with the overpopulation of squirrels because people do shoot them and put them in stew and stuff like that, like in the mountains.
They do. There's a lot of squirrel stuff that they make.
I feel like the kids had a friend growing up, like in elementary school or something, whose dad cooked squirrel stew and skunk whatever and roadkill surprise.
My cousins used to go shoot. They used to go squirrel hunting every year. I mean, that was like a big deal. And then of course they would eat it.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, no, I never did it either.
Oh, wow. Well, one last animal story. This is not about animals acting strange. This is just a strange story about dolphins that have washed up dead on the beach.
Oh, that's weird.
It is weird. And the headline actually says, "Scientists baffled."
Does it really?
It does.
Awesome.
Scientists baffled after 49 dolphins wash up dead on the beach.
49?
Yes, there actually was 61, but the local authorities were notified and they were able to save 12 of them and return them to the sea. But the rest of the 49 of them actually did die. And the only reason that they knew about it is this woman was walking, noticed a lot of birds at the beach and didn't know what it was and went down there and happened to see all of the dolphins kind of laying on the beach. So they have no idea what happened, why they were up there. They think that maybe there were killer whales in the area that caused them to beach themselves, but they don't really know.
That's really
it's
weird.
Still under investigation.
Yeah, no, it's strange. Especially for dolphins, they're smart.
Well, this particular area, it's the first case of marine mammals being stranded in this region. Did I mention this was in Argentina? I didn't mention that.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a beach resort in Argentina.
Wow. Because there's a lot of underwater UFO bases right outside Argentina.
There you go.
I don't know if you knew that or not.
No, I didn't. But that could.
Yeah, I have a little inside track on that.
I mean, you have like an explanation for every story. You're like the answer man today.
You know what? Sometimes #Bayleaf logic.
There you go.
You got me this little kettle, and it's just like
it's like concentrating the bay leaf smoke into your face.
I feel like I am on a vision quest.
All right. Well, I have two more stories for you. This first one's about an article that came out in this paper about the Pope claiming that Pope Francis said that there was no hell.
Oh.
Did you see this story?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
Well, he was supposedly quoted as saying there is no hell by this atheist friend of his that runs this paper called La Repubblica.
Okay. So this would be like somebody who runs an auto parts store saying that your car probably doesn't need an oil change except every 100,000 miles. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like isn't it the whole advertisement for getting you membership up? Yes.
Well, that's the problem. See, the newspaper that did the story, the guy that wrote it is an atheist. And he just happens to be a friend of the Pope's. They've had discussions before. And somebody said that it's probably just been misunderstood. I mean, the Vatican's freaking out. That he was just misunderstood and that the guy that wrote the article tends to write his articles on memory. Like he doesn't record the actual conversation. Like he just kind of remembers what was said and then writes it.
Wait. Can you imagine what you'd get if you recorded the Pope? I mean,
maybe that's why he doesn't.
I really want to interview the Pope. Can you imagine what you would get if you interviewed the Pope on the digital recorder?
Oh, I can't imagine.
Be interesting, wouldn't it?
It would be.
You remember what that exorcist that died said? And we just recently did the story that Satan's inside the Vatican.
Oh, yes. He did say that.
This kind of, I mean, for someone saying that there's no hell and be like, oh, it's okay, fornicate away, just have fun. That's okay, little Babel. It's fine.
Little Babel.
Gomorrah. It's like he has the dogs, Sodom and Gomorrah. And I don't know. It's just come on. It's weird timing.
It is. Well, supposedly he claimed that the Pope said that people don't actually go to hell, that their souls just disappear after they die. Like they don't go to be with God or whatever. They just, cease to be.
Cease to be.
Yes, I suppose.
They don't go on to sing with the choir journal.
No, I suppose not. But in the article, the author wrote back in a previous article that he had done, said that Pope Francis has abolished all the places where souls are supposed to go after death, hell, purgatory, heaven, and that the souls dominated by evil and unrepentant cease to exist, and those that have been redeemed from evil will be taken up to contemplate God. And that's what he says that the Pope thinks. But of course, everybody at the Vatican claimed that it's all just a big misunderstanding and that guy's an atheist. And so he's just misconstruing what the Pope said.
Somebody's been spending too much time downstairs. Somebody didn't watch the Pope when he went to bed. And he snuck down into that restricted section with Miss Granger.
I bet when this article came out, the Vatican completely flipped out. Like, the place was probably in chaos.
I mean, seriously, it's pretty rough, man.
Like, the Pope said there was no hell. What are we going to do?
I mean, that's like half the basis for what scares you when you walk in. I mean, that's the hook.
Well, yeah, because if there's no hell, then what's the point?
Right.
I mean,
there's the point of wanting to be a good person and be in this beautiful heaven, and
right. But you got to have one to have the other.
But the penalty, you're saying, I mean,
right.
You know, there is the penalty of what's the point for bad people,
right? Right.
You know, for us, I mean, for good people, and probably, I would say 60% of people listening to the show, you know, for the good people, you know, the reward is everlasting.
You think it's that high of a percentage?
No, I was just being nice.
All right. So very strange. I'm sure they'll have it all covered and cleaned up and, you know, retracted very soon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this one will be brushed under any Italian floor mat they could find.
Probably the Vatican. Maybe the Vatican's probably bought that newspaper now. They're probably like, no, you can't be reporting this. Sorry.
No, that one's really crazy.
All right. So last story. This one's kind of comical. It's a video that you need to go watch. And it's about a man who is seen pretending to be possessed by spirits to get out of a traffic ticket. So the man parked his car in a no parking area, and they came to take his car, and he was asked to pay this fine. However, he didn't want to pay the fine, so he acted like he was possessed. So on the video, he's like writhing around and screaming and you know, causing this huge ruckus. In the end, the police did not believe that he was possessed, and they made him pay the fine to get his car.
Wow.
It just leads me to wonder, has this worked in the past? I mean, this whole possession thing, because he seemed pretty committed to it.
Maybe for this guy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, obviously this has worked for him before.
I'm sorry. I wouldn't have gave up. I'm kind of mad this guy's a quitter. I mean, why would you give up?
I don't know.
Let him take you to jail. I mean, let him take you to jail. The worst thing they're going to do is lock you up for 72 hours, right?
Right.
I think 72 hours is the normal crazy house. And I could say that. You know, I think that's the normal lock him up, right? For observation.
Possibly. This is another country, so I don't know.
Well, it could. Well, maybe it's a week.
Maybe.
You know, but you know, they lock them up and just you get there and you're like, oh, I feel much better. You know, I was having.
Why am I in here? I
was having a really bad day. It was, but you're going to get out of the ticket, and even the temporary insanity. The guy wasn't committed.
I know
that bothers me.
He should have stuck to his guns.
Absolutely, and as far as the cop goes, what happens if it was really? I mean, hey, they just had a call for new exorcist. You know,
that's true.
What happened if this guy really was possessed?
I wonder if there's like a criteria, like maybe if he spits pea soup.
Yeah.
Or something. Maybe he should have, you know, gone the extra mile and
maybe they're like, come on, man. Demons don't double park.
He turns his head all the way around.
Demons I mean, he could see. He could see behind him. What are you talking about? No, it's some pretty good stuff.
It's a really funny video, though. You have to go and watch it.
Absolutely.
And watch him try to get out of his ticket. So, you know, in the event that you're ever faced with a parking fine and you need to try to not pay it.
I will do that. Absolutely. All right. Well, that was some interesting stuff.
Yes.
And some interesting stories as well. The hashtag bay leaf logic. That was a very enlightening show. I think we put some puzzles together.
I think we did.
And we now know the truth.
This is going to be one of those situations where after the bay leaves wear off, we're not going to remember any of these solutions that we came up with.
I hope not. I think we had some really good ones this time.
I think so.
But no, some good stories, some interesting stories. Poor Elon Musk.
I know.
Who knew?
Who knew he was a clone and secretly Dead in his car in space.
It's so bad. I would hate to come in like halfway through one of these episodes. You know what I mean?
I'd be like, what content were they talking about?
What are they talking about? I'll tell you what they're talking about. ParanormalSideshow.com. That's where to find out everything Elon Musk. On Facebook.com/Paranormal Sideshow. All kinds of Mr. Musk. On the Twitter, it's at Sideshow97. We have all the elongated skulls you can take. Instagram, Hot Elon Dam. It's John and Stacey Edwards. YouTube.com/Paranormal Sideshow. Go there, like us, subscribe, please, because Elon needs it. And take a quick moment to like, follow, or subscribe to us for our podcast at iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or so many other places. Wherever you're at, just hit that button. Hit that button now. Think about it. You want to see it show up every week. You want to get a little alert sometime on Tuesday afternoon saying, John and Stacey have a new episode. And preferably Monday, but I'm spotting Stacey a day. Showcase your inner weird as well, and please support your favorite paranormal podcast, and that would happen to be us, by checking out all our t-shirt designs over at tpublic.com/users/paranormal sideshow, or as Stacey always likes to point out, because she wants you to go look up her news stories that she works so hard on, paranormalsideshow.com is another place to find it. And I will say, once again, man, there is some good stuff going on for the Sideshow. Just to let you know, I'm still not going to tell you anything, but you've made it all the way to the end of the show. So I will wink, wink, nudge, nudge a little bit. If you do find it in your heart to do some cool stuff, share the Facebook page for us and help us get the numbers up. Instagram, same thing, on the Twitter, however you can. And, tell people about the podcast. Let's get these numbers up. We got some big things going on, and those things are happening regardless. I want you to be able to say you were here at the first.
Yes.
So you can be one of those people that like knew about the indie band before anybody else did.
Yeah, one of those cool people.
Yeah, one of the cool people go, yeah, I've been listening to them for years. I knew John and Stacey like way, way long ago before the beep, 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 beep. See, we can't talk about that part. But let me just tell you that beep, 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 beep is something cool. And I'm only giving it to you because you've lasted the whole time. We love you guys.
Pretty impressive.
We love you guys so much. For my lovely, adorable wife, Stacey, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.